Hey guys, Chris here from Flareup Farm. I'm still in the house, I'm getting all suited up, but I'm a little worried about one of my minis because she's not been calling for me all morning. I can see her down in the barnyard, so I know she's relatively okay, but the fact that she's not calling for me is really unusual because normally she calls and calls all morning long, telling me to hurry up and come feed her breakfast, and she's not called once. So let's go see how she's doing, and fingers crossed there's nothing major going on. I definitely am a little concerned because she hasn't been as vocal as usual. You know, she's a very vocal little one. Whenever she wants food or sees me, she always makes a little whinny sound, and so I still haven't heard from her. But from here, her nose looks clean. I don't see any like goop or discharge. There's no beard of bubbles that we saw back in the summertime. So she looks from here to be doing all right, but it's still unusual. How are you feeling, sweet girl? There's a little discharge by her eye, but nothing much. I was really worried I was going to come down and she was going to have tons of discharge in her nose and her eyes and, you know, maybe even coming out of her mouth. But so far, she looks okay, but she's not quite acting herself. We did just have a very cold night. They were calling for it to get down to 20. I actually saw 13 though on the thermometer this morning, right around sunrise. So I know it got super, super cold. I want to go check on that trough though, just to make sure that for some reason they weren't without water. I don't think so, but you always want to double check. So let's go do that. So here's the trough the girls have, and it looks good. It did not freeze over. They have plenty of water. So it wasn't a water issue. So now we'll just want to watch everyone to make sure that they still have their normal morning appetites. Sweetheart's there in that far feed lot. Usually she finishes everything very well. When caring for horses, you know, we want to use our observation skills all the time. We should always be scanning and evaluating and really trying to stay in tune with our animals. And so with Sweetheart, I know it was very unusual for her to not be calling for me in the morning and to certainly not call when she saw me coming. Now she seems to be feeling all right otherwise. I didn't hear any significant raspiness when I walked past her earlier. She's got her head in the feed bucket. You can hear her happily eating. So she seems like she feels okay. Maybe it was just because it was so cold. She wasn't quite her normal self. But I definitely want to keep a close eye on her because I do feel like this could potentially be the beginning signs of something that is brewing. So we'll keep a close eye on this one today. Now that my first two mares are eating, I'm going to go grab feed and feed the front horses, Lady, Shenanigans, and Rocky. And then I'll come back here and check on the girls again. I'll give them their hay and we'll double check that feed tub to make sure that Sweetheart did in fact clean it up. Knowing your horse's tendencies is a really important thing. For example, Lady, similar to Sweetheart, tends to call or paw. She shows her excitement when she knows it's mealtime. So that helps us as horse owners to really keep a pulse on our horses and how they're feeling, because when they don't do something that they usually do, or they're acting out of character, it helps to tip us off to be extra vigilant. My three out front seem to be feeling really well. I checked their water trough. The one that has a de-icer is in good shape, but I do need to break ice in the other trough. We have two troughs for them to choose from because our little friend Rocky can be a bit particular at times. So everyone out here looks great. They seem to be feeling pretty normal, but I do want to go back and check on Sweetheart because I still have this sneaking suspicion that she might not be feeling 100%. I just saw from the house that Sweetheart has finished up. When I first came back from feeding the horses in the front, her head was still in the bucket, so I wanted to give her a few minutes, but I can see now that her head is up and she's finished eating. If you see Sweetheart here, I feel the way she is standing with her head a bit low tells me she's not 100%, but let's go see if she ate everything. She did clean up her breakfast, so that is a good sign. And looking here at her nostrils, you know, her nostrils are not flaring. Her sides do not seem to be heaving. But let's see if I can listen a little closer. I think to really listen, I need to get into the feedlot with her so I can really put my head close to her nose, her muzzle area. So let me do that. I might not be able to film it, but let's go see what I can hear. I'm just watching her abdomen here. You can see, you know, it's heaving a little, but it's pretty normal for her. With her asthma, she does tend to take some deeper breaths than most horses. But again, her nostrils are not flaring like they typically do when she's in a period of distress. I hear her belly gurgling. So I can hear a little crackle. I hear a little gurgle, a little crackle. Whatever this is, you know, it's not horrible yet. I think we're catching perhaps a very mild flare up here. So let me see. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm hoping that you can hear in the video that little gurgle, crackle I'm talking about. I'm not going to get hay just yet. I'm going to go and get her a round of Banamine. And then after she has her Banamine, I will turn her and Snuggles out and put a little hay out. I'm not going to take her off hay yet. I'm going to see how she does and if the Banamine just helps to quiet everything, being as it doesn't appear to be a full-blown flare-up, but she does seem to be slightly more compromised than usual this morning. So it's about like I expected, I suppose. When I heard her last night, I didn't give her Banamine right away because with a horse who has a compromised airway such as Sweetheart and with her asthma flare-ups, I don't want to be giving her medicine every single time I see or hear the slightest something because that could be almost every day. So I want to hold off on giving her medication until I know for sure that it's warranted. And so now that she's seeming to not feel 100%, but not horrible, which is great, I do want to give her medicine because I want to nip it now. Sometimes she kind of gets over these slight flare-ups on her own, but because I'm seeing a little bit of a character shift in her, a little personality change, I do want to step in and help her so that it doesn't become a bigger issue. Whenever you have a horse with a chronic condition, such as asthma or some other breathing condition, as my mare does, you'll want to work very closely with your vet because these animals do tend to have these somewhat regular flare-ups and challenges, and it doesn't always warrant having the vet out if it's really mild. So similar to today, there are things that I can do to help alleviate some of her distress or her difficulties. So again, I'm not recommending that people run out and give their horses Banamine. It's just, this is the action plan that my vet and I have put into place. And so I did want to clarify that. Whenever I'm coming in to deworm my horse or to give them medicine such as today, I either put a halter on them or just take a little lead rope such as this, and I have twisted it around her face to give myself a little leverage, a little something to hold on to, because ideally I am going to be taking my syringe right here into the corner of her mouth and depositing that small amount of liquid on her tongue where it will be absorbed into her body. So a little halter or lead rope such as this can be really handy. I also like to give my horses a little treat just as soon as I'm done, a little reward for being a good sport. And I can tell she feels somewhat decent, not too horrible, because when she feels really, really lousy, she doesn't even want to take treats after I give her medicine. So that was a good sign. I'm glad she's had a little something. It should hopefully help whatever that little bit of a flare-up is. It sounds like she's got a little extra just fluid that's maybe building up in her throat. Oh, poor thing. And I know you can hear as she's coughing. She does have a bit of a cough, but this is different because you can hear that fluid that's kind of in her throat. You could hear that extra gurgle, that extra fluid. So I'm glad she's got her medicine. We'll keep a close eye on her today, and probably I will give her another dose at dinner time. Today, I'm only going to give the girls one, it looks like an oversized flake of hay, so it's quite a bit of hay. Usually they get two, but with Sweetheart's asthma kind of on the uptick, I'm going to err on the side of caution and put a little less hay out so that her head isn't stuffed in a pile quite as much of the daytime. I think with the medicine she had, she'll be just fine. Most days I do spread their hay outside because I want to be very mindful of Sweetheart's asthma and her airway issues. I try not to feed hay in the stalls. However, she had been doing so well, And because it was so windy and gusty the last couple of days, I did put a few of their meals in the stall, and perhaps that has contributed or caused this mild flare-up she's having. Luckily, the wind is not blowing today, so this hay will definitely go out into that field for them. I've worked to spread their morning hay out as best I can. I've shaken the flake real well into thin little piles, and I'll come back and check on her in a few hours, but I'm hoping that we'll see her feeling much better here soon. Thank you so much for joining me here on the farm this morning. You know, we got a lot done. We've got everyone fed and turned out. And we checked on Sweetheart, and I'm happy to report that her flare-up does not seem to be too significant right now, but she does still seem like she's at 100%. And so with that first round of medicine, I do hope to see her perk up. I will continue to check on her. But just remember, like, if your horses are ever not acting quite normal, or if they're just doing something a little different or not doing something, right? She wasn't calling for me this morning. Usually I hear her multiple times when I'm in the house and drinking my coffee and moving about, and I never heard her whinny once. So that was the first tip, that maybe she wasn't 100%. But just be mindful of those things and be very vigilant. And when your horses are behaving differently, definitely take note and look extra careful to make sure that there's not something amiss. So again, I do hope that Sweetheart is going to be feeling much better soon. I'll check on her this afternoon a few times, and I will likely give her one more round of medicine tonight just to help clear up whatever inflammation and flare up that she might be experiencing. So stay warm, stay dry, stay safe, and I hope you and your horses have a wonderful winter. Check back soon, because we will for sure have plenty of updates to share here on the farm. Bye, guys.